Hello and welcome to another model video. This is Alan from the McConaughey at YouTube with another model video. A while ago, you may remember, I did a Mecha Gunpla workshop tutorial video on sanding, where I used a series of sandpaper from around 120 to 320, all the way to 2000 grit sandpaper. So a range of 4 or 5 that is dealing with getting rid of imperfections, cleaning up a surface that's been scratch built, putty from seam lines, and all that jazz that you can put a coat of primer over, check for faults, and it's ready for painting. So this is to level a surface out from anything that's not meant to be there. Now, with an ideal surface, we're going to look at polishing and the range of sandpapers that are addressed or required for that. We've got 2 pieces that I'm going to be painting in a high metallic sheen, and I'm going to be approaching a gloss black undercoat before any of that goes on there. Now the thing with high gloss or sheeny metallics, that we're reflecting light off the surface. The smoother the surface, the more seamless the effect looks, and any sort of roughness, texture, cuts, sinkholes will disrupt the light that's reflecting off that surface. So if it's perfectly level, polished and plain, it's going to reflect like a mirror. If there's all sorts of issues with it, then it's going to scatter that light, and either the finish is going to be a bit hazy, smoky, or it's going to break up like some sort of prism or kaleidoscope. Now, the range of sandpaper I have is 2000. That's what we did last. We applied a coat of primer on the pieces with microfiller. Now, we've got a bit of a sheen, so that was from the 2000 last time, and that's that frosted smoky sheen we're talking about. This piece, over a few sessions, we are going to give it that high gloss, almost very sharp light reflection. We're going to see the light globe in the ceiling and the hard edge of that. We've got our 4 sandpapers. Some of them are specialty. The 2000 you can get from an automotive store for polishing cars up to get that gloss sheen. The rest of it is specialty, and you can buy it on the internet. 3000, 5000, 7000. You can go up to 10,000 and slightly beyond. These 3 start to get a bit expensive per sheet, though what I found that they're so smooth they generally do not stick to any surfaces or get clogged. If anything, they wear out, and being a high quality, I found I used the same 3 strips like that for a good 6 months. And you have to make sure that you definitely use it wet. Dry, it will have a tendency of scratching and wearing out quickly. So the first thing we're going to do is soak our paper in water. Unfortunately, I'm very well known for using disgusting water. I don't change it often. I don't know why I do that. That's a terrible hobby or habit. So make sure it's all nice, wet, sopping, and it's slightly soaked into the paper. And we just very lightly buff it. It's the same rules originally as when we were sanding. Your coarsest grits, you don't want to remove too much of the primer. I'm starting to take a bit of the primer off on the edges, and that will happen. You start sanding it the lightest as you humanly can for the first pass. This is just smoothing out that rough orange peel texture and heavy clumping pigment of the primer. So I'm virtually just ever so lightly rubbing it on. I'm not even using too much force from my fingers. And as we go up the grits, now we're going to 3000 grits, we can start applying a little more pressure to it. You may want to let it soak longer until the shape of it contours to the surface of the plastic. I'm going to allow that to happen for a few minutes. Okay. With that done, we just ever so lightly buff, and we apply a little more pressure. And we can already see with the water on it, it's starting to gloss up nicely. When you wipe off the water, the light's not reflecting off the wetness or the sheen of the surface of the water that's coating it. It's going to be reflecting purely from the reflection of light directly off the surface. So we're ever so lightly rubbing it down. Now, if this is already painted, you've got a few tops of, or a few coats of gloss, and there's a disruption in the gloss coat, you're able to get the 3000, 5000, 7000, 10,000, and ever so lightly whisk the surface, and then start applying a little pressure to it without putting too much force, wet, and you're able to get rid of small clumps of paint or dust captured in the surface. That's something very worthwhile finding out, but if you go ever so lightly too hard, you're digging through the layers of paint. This should also only occur once the paint is fully dry, hardened and matured. Any sort of curing going on, and you're just pretty much moving the surface of the paint around, roughing it up and making it a lot worse than it really is. So if you're doing a high gloss finish and there's any imperfection in the paint job, you can just ever so slightly whisk it with the sandpaper. Do it over a long period of time until the fault's not there anymore. Do a bit of polishing with a polishing compound, and then you add another coat of clear, and that finish is going to be absolutely fantastic. Moving along to 500 grits, there's definitely more force can be applied. You can feel that it's a little more smoother. The primer is going to weaken out and wear out a bit. That's not a big deal. But at this point we are pretty much contouring the surface all around the paper, and we are bringing up a shine. Any sort of scratches or cuts or pits is being worn out, and any sort of crud is being forced on top of it and leaving it to a nice, perfect, beautiful, smooth sheen. By the last piece of paper, we're able to finally put a bit of finger strength into it, and that's what's going to give us our super deep shine. And remember, this is only the primer surface. Paint is translucent. The light is going to penetrate and bounce off the core surface. If your surface is ideal, perfect and seamless, that's what the light's bouncing off. That's what your base coat with gloss or your metallic paint's going to reflect. It's a lot of work, but the finish is really ideal. Now, last round, and realistically a lot of it's not done off camera, so this is roughly how long it takes to do per piece. You don't have to polish all pieces. Smaller pieces are less likely to have imperfection. It's your larger, flatter, plain pieces. The larger the piece, the better. So largish areas, surfaces like that, absolutely perfect. The fins in the chest, the little pipe work, all that sort of stuff, are less likely unless you see an obvious pit or clump from the painting process. So we are putting in finger force straight onto plastic to get a practice idea and learn the different forces that are ideal for not wiping out detail, wiping out paint and whatnot. Will take practice. You will make a few mistakes, but the more you do your polished kits and polished surfaces, every model that passes, you'll get better and better to the point where you can get like to do a showroom finish style car in a plastic model kit version, and it actually looks like a scale object. So that's done. It's still wet. We're going to wipe it down with a tissue. And then you compare the two, and you can see the sheen. There's a tad amounts of moisture. Now you can see that the sheen is really sharp. You can see the fluorescent lights just above me reflecting in, where the other one, and this is a bit wet, that is very frosty. And once you put black over it, you put clear over it or whatever, it's going to remain just as sharp unless you have a lot of orange peel and it frosts up a bit. With a few clear coats and lightly whisking this, that will remain this intense of shine throughout your work. So this is the idea of polishing with sandpaper a surface and preparing a surface for painting. Thank you very much for watching. As always, until next time, stay tuned for further content. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I'm very, very happy to help out. If you're looking for more resources or anything of interest related to any video that I do, have a look at the description section. I leave more information, sometimes links where you can buy things, find things, communities, all that sort of stuff. Facebook, I'm on there regularly. You'll see my latest updates, references, information and whatnot. I have a presence on Twitch. I have a presence on Patreon. Thank you very much for watching. Check out the playlists for more tutorials and different styles of videos. And thank you very much for watching. Catch you guys next time. It's a pleasure. See ya.